thao quay chừng ngày đến là khổ khổ im hát say ta quênน้ำพร้อมเพลย์พานต้นไม้ห้องเพย์ปูรอให้คนแปลงฟันทั้งไม่ได้บานหาคอยไปปดหอยถึงที่เกินปนเสียงเพลงของสาว
Some houses in Vietnam are only 2 meters wide. But here's the strange part. Some of these houses go 100 meters deep. From outside they look tiny, but inside they become long tunnel-like homes. And the reason is not architecture. It was taxes. Yes, really. In cities like Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, these narrow buildings are called tube houses. Most of them are only 2 to 4 meters wide. What is that? Oh. Can I like that? It's good. What is its name?
Nhau.
Nhau.
Trái nhau.
Chai nhau.
Okay.
Chai nhau. Chai nhau. But they can be incredibly deep because in the past, first during the Nguyen dynasty and later during French colonial rule, property taxes were not based on total size of the house. They were based on the width of the front facing the street. So the wider your house looked from the street, the more tax you had to pay. The French colonial government wanted to make more money from business on main streets. But the Vietnamese people found a very smart solution. They kept the front of the house very narrow and stretched the house deep inside the block. This way they paid less tax, but still had large living spaces. So these strange narrow houses are actually a form of architectural resistance against the tax system. And this story is not only about houses, because the real spirit of Vietnam is not on the big roads. It is inside these tiny alleyways. In Vietnam, these alleyways are called hẻm. And hẻm is not just a small street. It's a restaurant, a market, a living room, a storage area, a playground, and a workplace at the same time. Hello.
Hàng xóm thân thiện. Đứng như này, tay cho nó dứt bắt tay đi cô, bắt tay đó, ok. Quá rồi cho bà
Khu đẹp.
Khu này đẹp.
Nice to be đẹp.
Beautiful hả? Beautiful.
Yes.
Người có beautiful đâu?
In many Western cities, sidewalks are only for walking, but in Vietnam, the street is alive. People cook here, park motorbikes here, hang clothes here, drink coffee here, sell food here, talk with neighbors here. Sometimes they even sleep here. That's why many researchers say Vietnam has some of the most active public spaces in the world. And the entire street culture of Vietnam is built around one thing: survival, adaptation, and finding ways around the system, especially after 1986. Because in 1986, Vietnam started a huge economic reform called Doi Moi. It means renovation or renewal. After these reforms, Vietnam moved toward a market economy, but of course controlled, not wild capitalist. So the streets became an economy. People started selling food on sidewalks, carrying fruits, opening tiny food stalls. Today, Vietnam's street economy supports millions of people, all of them Vietnamese, because the socialist state control wonderfully, perfectly in economy. And the interesting part is this: it doesn't only help the sellers, it also helps poor people in the city survive, because street food is very cheap. Students, factory workers, low-income families, many of them eat most of their meals on the street. So street vendors are actually the invisible backbone of Vietnamese cities. And one of the most important parts of this story is women. Research shows that most street vendors in Vietnam are women. In some areas, the number reaches 80%. One of the most iconic images in Vietnam is this. People build small local economies inside these tiny alleyways. As pressure increases on the main streets, more vendors move into the hams. Because government, vehicles and police cannot easily enter these narrow alleys. So over time, hams become small hidden economies. They have their own customers, their own systems, and their own neighborhood networks. And in another ham I entered. There is one of the most interesting street foods in Vietnam: snails, fish, and fermented seafood. For many tourists, the smell is very strong, but this is also one of the most authentic parts of Vietnamese street culture. Because street food in Vietnam is not only food, it's a lifestyle. And here is the irony. Sometimes the government sees street vendors as a problem for modernization, but at the same time, Vietnam also uses these exact street scenes in tourism advertisements. Pho, soup, banh mi sandwiches, people eating on sidewalks, motorbike chaos, women carrying bamboo poles, and hidden food spots inside narrow alleyways like this.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello.
So street culture is pushed away on one side, but sold to the world as the real Vietnam experience on the other side. And honestly, this is where the soul of Vietnam really lives. Not inside skyscrapers, not inside shopping malls, but inside these narrow alleyways, inside these hams, and inside the small lives people build here every single day.